It's just spinning. It's just spinning. Yep. You see how it's three wheels? That whole wheel is off the ground right now. That's how stiff it is. And then just turn it. So, Radical video. This is kind of a funny one. It's not really even a real video. Oh yes, you noticed my M3 GTR and YouTube plaque. Thank you. Kidding, but yeah, so I got a Radical SR3. It's been a week and I'm trailering it tomorrow to sell it. And before you make any of like the Andre selling his car jokes, which completely are true, this honestly has a lot more of a serious, I guess, reason, and it's a funny reason, but I don't fit in it. I'm 6'4" and I weigh 260 pounds, heavier side, but the weight and the fat is not the issue this time, actually, because I can fit into that tight, narrow seat. It makes me look like a toothpaste that's like half squeezed out, but it's hilarious. But I do fit in it with my butt all the way down and bottom, so I'm using the whole seat. The seat's adjusted all the way back, but basically, I guess I should just show you, but basically that steering wheel is buried in my lap, and it's like, you know, I'm holding it and you can't steer without A, rubbing on your knee, and also just hitting your knuckles on your thigh. And it really sucks because, you know, I test fitted. Here's some funny pictures of me with the seat out test fitting, and it was perfect. I could have done a poor bead seat, sort of. It's like a weird, I would have to build walls, and it's expanding foam that goes between the chassis and you, and it kind of conforms and makes a perfect shape. But the hilarious thing, well, it's not hilarious, it's actually very safe reasoning. When I sit in this thing, if you're looking from the side, like, I think the top of my head without a helmet is here, which is lower than this already, the side bar, and then the main roll bar is here. And as you know, with Formula and prototype cars that don't have windshields, that are open sports racer style, they don't really have a cage up here. Some do, some like GT4 stuff. I've seen like the Lotus, there's a Lotus that looks like a Radical that doesn't come with a windshield, and they do offer a 4-point cage, and it's for a racing series because I guess it's extra safe. But when this rolls, there's nothing really besides the roll bar and whatever cage is here that's kind of above my knees. And if your head kind of falls in that space, you might get a haircut that might, you know, paralyze you, which is really sad to think about. And trust me, I was thinking about just doing the screw it, send it, whatever, like, you know, when are you actually going to roll a Radical? Which I agree, you know, I never crashed a car at a track day, and I wouldn't exactly be thinking about crashing one either, but, you know, safety matters, especially with these things. I am looking to wheel race it. There's Watkins Glen is coming up October 7th through 9th, and I love that track in the simulator and iRacing, so I'd really like to try it. But I just spent 2.5 minutes talking about stuff that doesn't even really pertain to this car, besides how sad it is that I'm too fat and I don't fit, even though I said it wasn't about the weight. But so this is a Radical SR3 tube chassis, 1,000-ish pounds. It has a giant 20-gallon fuel cell because endurance racing, some people do it with this. 20 gallons of empty or full fuel is a very big weight difference. So it's roughly 1,000 to 1,100 pounds. Crazy thing is it uses a Hayabusa motorcycle engine. If you guys know me, I had a Suzuki GSXR 1000 as my first bike. I just had a GSXR 750. Anyone that follows me on Instagram would have seen it. It was kind of a project bike I put together, and then I rode it around New Jersey and just didn't like it. But anyways, I like Suzuki engines. I like motorcycle engines. They're actually very simple, very small. I really think if you like work on motorcycles as a mechanic first and then go over to cars, I think your life would be easier. Because if you work on cars first and then go to a motorcycle, you're like, oh my god, this is so easy. But it uses a Hayabusa motor. This is one that's fully built, and instead of being 1300cc, which Radical SR3s do come in, it is a 1400cc, which is a weird hybrid because normally they're actually 1500cc is really the other option, and some people don't really like it because the rebuild hours is less. It's like every 40 hours you have to rebuild it, rod bearings, piston rings, basic reseal unless it has catastrophic failure. Now the 1300s, which is basically what comes stock in the Hayabusa, is like good for like 90 to 100 hours, which is double, almost triple the life of the 1500cc, although it does make a little bit more power. You know, as somebody that maybe doesn't have money and isn't going to be paying a Radical shop to take care of this, I didn't really want anything too complex. So this is actually a 1400. It's carbed. It literally uses FCR 41 carbs, which is like a common dirt bike racing carb. There's just 4 of them. Air boxes right here. Of course, that body goes over it, so it's similar to an F1 style intake right behind you, which is awesome. The headers, because you know on a motorcycle they all go down and then they go to one side to a muffler. This actually does like a Y split. 2 cylinders go passenger side, 2 cylinders go driver side, and then there's like a really long Y pipe connection. So it's like a 4 to 2 to 1 or whatever it's called. And then there's a giant muffler here because it had to meet sound noise regulations, but I'm sure straight pipe this sounds amazing. And so cool thing about motorcycles, and once again, this is only going to be interesting to people that actually have motorcycles or know about how they work. But right there, what you're looking at right there is actually normally where the front sprocket would be sitting. And then you'd have a chain that goes to your rear wheel, which would be roughly here in comparison to the trans or the engine. But this is a gear drive unit that Radical developed basically with Qualifi, the sequential company from, I believe, England. Yeah, they basically developed it for a Radical, and essentially it's a drive shaft that goes there, and then it has about 3 straight cut gears. That it's a gear driven transmission. It's not belt driven or chain driven or anything like that. So there's no chains, it's just gear. Transfers into that. There's a quick change diff actually sorry, the quick chain is right here. These 2, they're not 3 gears, they're 2 gears. They're quick change gears. This cover comes off and it's literally 2 gears, and you can change the ratios. Then that goes into a diff, because obviously, as you know, some bike driven cars, they don't have a diff, it's just a solid axle, so you essentially have a fully locked axle at all time. But this point of that is there's a reverse lever right there. You put it in that position, and now everything coming out of the gear drive unit is going to be reversed. So now you're technically, although nobody's going to do it, your 6 forward gears now become 6 reverse gears. Now, of course, you're not going to be slipping it in 3rd, 5th, 6th, whatever gear in reverse or forward, but technically that is actually how it does it, because there's a collar that reverses the flow. Now, if you don't care about any of this cool engineering stuff, I mean, it's pretty basic, but it's a really cool car. Like, it just, you know, I've had Lotuses. May God be with you, Lotus. Love Lotuses, you know, but this thing is just like, even Rachel, like, she came out and she's like, whoa, like, that thing really looks cool, because it's like so low to the ground. And the fact is, you know, I have the Lotus S1 right outside. It's a small car and it's a round. This thing uses the full width and the length completely. Like, your wheel ends right here, and then you have like another 2 feet, if not 3 feet, of splitter. And it's a very, very solid splitter that I would demonstrate I'm standing on right now completely. Like, it's a very solid splitter. Everything is like full aero, giant dive planes there, giant canards right there. These holes right here are brake ducts that go to the big brake kit. Center locks, red is the driver's side or the left side of the car, and then the blue is the other side. Center locks torqued to 260 foot-pounds. Really cool. Never actually had a car with center locks. It's pretty awesome. I have another set right there that has street tires on it. And then the rear body being on, I would love to put it on. It's very easy to put on and off, but you do kind of need a second person. Otherwise, I have to go back and forth, and I kind of just gonna scratch everything. But it's crazy because the wing's attached to that, but the actual, like, that's what the wing sits on, which is how it puts the downforce through the chassis. It's really, really cool. The trans is literally motorcycle trans. So 1 neutral, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's not going to shift right now. If any of you motorcycle people know, if you try to shift your bike when it's off, sometimes it just won't engage gears at all. It'll just bounce because the dogs aren't lined up. But literally, you know, while it's running first, and then everything you pull up hard is going to be second, third, fourth, fifth, and then downshifting, you're blipping up. Now, this is an old car, 2004. The auto blip cars didn't start till 2009, 2010 when they had the Life ECU package, which was a real ECU that you could actually see errors of the engine, and it stored data, a lot more data about how the engine ran, and it introduced auto blip, and that made it so normally you drive it like a motorcycle. You're wide open throttle, and then all you have to do is let go 20% throttle while pulling back on the lever, shifting up. Just like a motorcycle, you're, you know, letting off just a tiny bit throttle and then continuing. With the auto blip, you can stay fully flat. But the thing is with this one, when you're downshifting, there's no kind of rev match. You're literally using your clutch, pushing forward to go down a gear, and you're using your right foot to rev match. And yeah, the auto blip one, it's almost like a paddle shift. It automatically does it for you. Now, these cars also did come in paddle shift, and that was essentially a complicated air system of a compressor that kept the tank filled with pressure, that had air lines that were electronically controlled from the paddles, and they would essentially air shift that trans that's now being, you guys know what a shifter looks on a trans. It's literally a notched spline thing that just needs to turn to shift gears, and usually there's like a thing that connects to a tie rod, which then connects to your foot pedal, and when you press down, you're going into first, and then everything clicking up. You know, race bikes flip that, but the point is still stands. That's what I'm doing with the lever. So with this, it's cool, but with the air shifted one, essentially the thing would have an air, I can't say the word, PHNU, something like that, pneumatic, sorry, I can't pronounce it, I know the P's silent. That system, which is air shifted essentially, so it's air shifting it. But the thing is, the old system had quirks where sometimes it wouldn't produce enough pressure to shift, because they are quite mechanical shifts. You know, they're not like with the lever I am like banging it like a sequential race trans, you know, just to get the dogs in. So sometimes it wouldn't create enough pressure, and it would bounce back out of gear or back into the reverse gear, which you don't want when you're at, you know, 9,000 RPM flat out. And it was basically like, I don't know, some people ran it. This car was paddle shifted originally, and when this guy got it, he took it all apart and put it back to lever because he said he was having issues with it. And he said the lever's never going to miss. It's literally mechanical. It's just a metal rod that goes to right there, which then the metal rod's out here, and it goes to the shifter like a normal bike engine and trans. So it's very, very cool, like, you know, the technology. It's, as you guys know, I love race cars. I mean, I love a lot of cars, but I really, really love race cars, like homologated race cars. Just, it's so cool to me how they're built, because, you know, of course, when you ignore like traditional comfort cars and practicality and stuff, you can create some, you know, the human mind can create some insane machines that are full tube chassis. Normally this would actually have a giant diffuser. This one doesn't have one, but there's just crazy mix of lightweight, aero, and power, because like I said, 1,000 pounds, about 200 wheel horsepower, followed by the aerodynamics literally of like an aero. It's just insane how these cars look. And the Gen 2s look even crazier because they have a raised nose in the thing, and it becomes almost like a Formula 1 car where it's ducting air through the body. And then the Gen 3 becomes even crazier than that. Those almost have like Formula style noses that kind of come out like the late 2000s. And it's nuts. It's just, you could see how the air flows through it and how it incorporates the side pods and stuff. And like it has a radiator on this side and an oil cooler on that one. But just a lot of, I don't know, just race engineering is really cool, is my point. The aero is technically really old because it's 2004, so it's like an aluminum double plane wing that truthfully probably isn't even that efficient, that has bolts in it. It's just completely crazy. I love race cars. But sadly, like I said, I am selling this thing tomorrow, hopefully. Trailering it, and yeah, I really wish I could fit in it. It's became more of, like I said, a safety thing. Like I could have just said send it, but you know, I don't want to die or have anything bad happen to me because I neglected stuff like this. You know, I would love to drive this race car. There are other prototype cars I can buy, like STOHR WF1s, like SCCA prototype 1 and 2 cars. They're single seaters, and while some of them are for little drivers, some of them really are built for like up to 6'6". It's insane. Their pedal box and everything can be mounted so long that you could fit such tall people. But you know, in America, there's occasional people like us that like to race that can't really fit in some of these cars. So it's really cool to see that there's some that we can fit in. Like, you know, I've stuffed myself in a Miata and a Lotus, stuff like that. So I was like, okay, I'll make it work. And, you know, before you guys ask, why didn't you test fit it? As I said, can't really find many Radicals. I used to see them in Arizona a few times. Like, I'd see like one at a track day and then see one 3 track days later. But it wasn't so much like I'm ready to buy one, so I didn't really want to bother the owner and be like, hey, cast it in your Radical, you know. And then by the time I was in New Jersey, you know, there's not really any Radicals around that I could have just sat in. It's a very small knit group of people, and a lot of the people are older, you know, older money type individuals, and not really many people that are in their mid-20s doing this, although, you know, there's a few. But it's still just really, really cool. You can see fisheye lens looks crap, but still kind of see the whole, just cool. This garage is like perfect if you have a really small car. I mean, it's not perfect, I wish it was bigger, but it's still better than being outside, I guess. Like my yellow Lotus is right there, which has a fuel pump issue currently that I'm trying to figure out wiring wise. But yeah, this is the video of the Radical, and hopefully you could see me. But yeah, I don't know, it's really cool. It's probably like the coolest thing I've owned, and the coolest thing you guys have seen on the channel, except that 3, because, you know, it's like it's actually funny because there's actually a race car for sale that has like a crazy S65 in it. It's sequential, but it's a lot of money, and I don't want to have that much money in a race car, although I'd really love to have Need for Speed F3. Not really, but joking. Yeah, so thanks for watching, guys. Like I said, I'm not really doing these videos in the sense of like, hey, I want to build my YouTube. I just put out these videos because honestly, looking on YouTube, I like to look on YouTube when I like stuff. Like if I like Lotus S1s, I like to watch Lotus S1 review videos, driving videos, engine swap videos. There's stuff like that about the chassis, and it really makes me upset when I want to like watch videos about a car and there's nothing available. Like Radicals, this original S1 at Radical, not this one, but one pretty much like it, was on Top Gear as a street legal model, and like they did like the Stig's fastest lap, and it beat every car at the time. This was like back in 2003, and it's just cool, you know, finding stuff about the car from when it first came out to now you kind of only find brand new Radical dealers making small videos, and those cars like 120,000+ and pretty unattainable. This car is sub 30,000. You can, if you wait long enough, find the first gen Radicals because they're such old technology for cheap enough, but a lot of them are 50, 40, 60, 70, 80, like $1,000s. They're quite expensive cars, you know. Like I said, I only got in one because it was cheap enough, and I wanted to experience the engineering, but I can't fit in the engineering. So as I've been already trying to say, close out this video, my point was I just make these videos because I'm not really, I mean, I do monetize them, but I'm not like, you know, I'm not expecting like my channel to blow up and have a ton of views or anything. It's just me posting stuff that I guess I wish was on YouTube, just raw videos like this. Maybe somebody, you know, it's not going to get a lot of views, but maybe somebody's in a position like me where they don't know much about these Radicals, and they're YouTube and Googling it, and they just want to know about these older ones and like a real owner's perspective and stuff like that. I just think stuff like that is cool, and it'd be cool if there was more videos of it. But of course, you know, some older people, they don't really make videos or post them because they just live in the moment. So it's kind of, I don't know, this is becoming deeper than it's supposed to be. You get my point. It's a cool fucking car. But thanks for watching, guys. I don't know, maybe next video will be driving the S1 more or buying another race car. So thanks for watching, guys. Have a good day, or good night, because it is 10 p.m. right now. Good night. Got it.